Today I'm back to share my favorite tips and techniques on how you can create those beautiful spring dimensional daffodils and hyacinths. If you've never created these before, you're in for a treat, and we'll also show you some samples of very versatile ways that you can use these daffodils to create some very different flowers from just doing a daffodil. So join me and we'll have some fun learning how to create these beautiful florals together. To get started, we're going to color the spring daffodil stamp and die, and we're also going to color the little fragrant hyacinths. That one comes that you stamp 5 at a time. So with these, you have a couple different pieces. So I stamped this piece of the daffodil, which is going to be the center, with the coastal coral, and I stamped this one with the sunflower ink. So we're just going to go ahead and just color this very lightly with the sunflower. So that gives a little bit of that yellow in there, so you don't have to spend a lot of time coloring that. So once that's done, you can just switch over, add a little bit of coastal coral to this one. And when you color this, you'll just go ahead and add some color just kind of around those edges and around the inside edge as well. And then since we're going to be seeing the opposite side as well, you'll just want to go ahead and make sure you give the opposite side a good covering of that too. Now for the little hyacinths, these are super cute. We stamp these in Majestic Violet and Forget Me Not, and you can also color it in those two tones. So it gives kind of a very neutral, two-toned effect when you're coloring those. So I just go in and color it about half and half to get started creating that hyacinths. So I'll just pick that up so you can see that a little bit closer. So that is all colored and ready for our flower. To shape these, you don't have to do any guesswork. All you have to do is just lay these into your mold. And if you haven't used the mold before, this will shape it for you. So when you put this in, once you've done that, you can go ahead and just spray a little bit of water over it. And I just realized I put this one in the wrong spot. There we go. That one fits like a glove. So you have these pieces in here. Then you'll go ahead and just lay this on top. And that will run through the machine and shape that for you. So I'll do this to the daffodil. And while that's going through, I'll show you how the little hyacinths look. The hyacinths you're going to be shaping a lot at one time, and those shape really beautifully very quickly. So once that is through, we'll take a look at the daffodil. The daffodil I love because there's many different shaping techniques you can use after this comes out to make it look like different flowers as well. Here's one that you see. Here's another one, so you can do some fun techniques to get the daffodil some versatility if you're doing some other flowers as well. The next step is assembling these beautiful flowers. There's many ways that you can shape the daffodil into different flowers. Today we're going to focus on the traditional shaping. You can also do some fun techniques of just layering the base and then layering the center together separately. So with this one, you'll take the inside. Now you can have the stamp side showing on the inside of the cup, or you can have it showing on the outside. So you get to choose. If you want to have this on the inside, which I personally think you can see the stamped image a little bit better if you do that, you can just go ahead and roll this back just a little bit more. And then all you're going to do is just bring this together. Oops, I forgot to show you one thing. There is a little bit of a cut in here, and the die has cut it just a little bit for you so you can see where you want to cut. And that makes it that overlaps a little bit. So you can go ahead, and I like to bend these up just a little bit so that makes it wants to actually curve around. And then we'll just go ahead and add a little dollop of hot glue on the side here, and we'll bring this together. And you can just kind of hold that a little bit until that is all bonded for you. You just want to be careful so you don't burn yourself. Oops. So you have that little cup, and don't really worry about how the top looks right now. You'll just be a little bit patient with yourself because you can always roll that back once that's done and glued together. So that's what you're going to focus on. So that is all glued. And then you can just go back. I'm using the stylus tool, and you can just lift that back a little bit if you wanted to. Totally up to you. But that's just kind of a great way to make that look like a very realistic cupped flower. Now, the opening down here in the center is pretty open. You can do this a couple different ways, but I like to take a couple stamens from our bridal stamen pack, just fold this in half, and I like to just go, kind of curl that a little bit, put some glue in the bottom here, and we'll press that right through the center. You might have a different way that you like to do that, so I'm just going to pull this open, and I'm just going to pull that thread all the way through. Okay, and then you can just kind of let that set a little bit. And as you're doing this, I'm not too concerned about how those stamens are showing up in the center right now. You can always go back and you can readjust those with the hot glue. Next step is going to go back, and we're going to add a little bit of glue on the back of the daffodil base. Just offset these petals, and then you can go back and just kind of close this up, add a little bit of glue around the outer base and in the center here, and we'll come in, and I like to just pull those petals up a little bit. Just hold that for a little bit as well. And once that's a little bit more dry, you can go back and you can just pull those base petals up. So once that's dry, everything's set. I'm just going to set this aside for a little bit. You can go back into the center where the stamens are, and you can kind of pull those around, and you can put like another dollop of glue in the center to hold those straight in the middle. You can always go back and you can pull these petals up, and you can just kind of play with that until it's how you want it. Now, for the hyacinths, you're going to stamp one image in green. You're going to stamp one image in the majestic violet, and this is where we're going to add our little flowers to the top of. So what you're going to do is, I like to, after they are shaped, I like to take a tweezers. I like to make sure that I just kind of hang on to these. And this is going to be your handy dandy tool to add these to your actual hyacinths. Now, this is a very dimensional hyacinth, so you can really adjust how much dimension you want on there as well. So just pop that in, just hold that there a little bit, and you'll just continue to do that until that entire top is completely full and nicely rounded and looks exactly like you want it to. But I like to take my little tweezers and just use that and just really squeeze that in very well. Oops. Mine is a little bit sticky because I got it and dipped it into the hot glue. So you'll want to kind of watch that. So we'll do one more. So I just wanted to show you how you can fill that very easily using a tweezers. Now when you're doing this, you can add as many or as little as you want. So obviously mine's very tight and full to get that dimension. So when you're doing this at home, you would just continue to fill that up. And once that's done, you can go back with your hot glue, just add this to the base. You can glue this on top of the one that you stamped in green, and you have the leaves underneath it. You can shape those a little bit. So once that's completely full, you have this beautiful dimensional flower. So we have two different sizes. You have the smaller one, then you have the bigger one. Now obviously this is super dimensional. You can adjust the dimension to how you want, because we added lots of thick pop dots in between those layers to get that dimension. So that is the basics to creating these. Now let's take a look at some card samples. So within the Spring Garden collection, these images just really pop, and they also pair beautifully with the delightful Daffodil collection we launched in February. With this, we're just going to take a quick look at some of the card samples the design team has done. So anything from super small petite cards to really large dimensional focal pieces for like your Mother's Day, or just letting a friend know that you were thinking of them and that you care. Such a beautiful way to create that. So you can really alter the dimension to what you want, from super dimensional to something that's a little bit more simple and elegant. Here's one with just the stamped image. I love how that turned out. Such a stunning focal point with that, yet it's very easy for mailing. The daffodil is super beautiful, just clustered together with those big bouquets. Here's another one using from the backgrounds of the Delightful Daffodil collection. Here's another one pairing the hyacinths and the daffodil together. And I love how this goes with some of the card bases and dies we've launched earlier as well. So lots of beautiful ways you can use these, but don't just think about using it on paper. You can also pair the daffodil, get a completely different elegant look with it on vellum. I had one here on foam. Here's one on foam as well. So if you like different papers, that's a great one to use as well. Here's another card done with the fence from one of the dies we released at the end of January, which I love how that comes out. Here's another one just using some of those dies as a background, which makes it so pretty. This one is a little bit larger card, but the soft pastels just make that come together so beautifully. So it's hard to have a favorite. They just come together and just make. One of my gals I work with, she said, you know, Emily, this is like a box filled with happiness. It just makes you feel happy when you look at it. These are also beautiful flowers to make bouquets with as well. So if you love to create floral bouquets, you can just do just a simple stem flower, which is really pretty. With these daffodils. I love how that turned out. Or if you like kind of like a surprise pop-up box, this is also just a fun and beautiful way to create with those. Now with this set, we'll recap one more time. You have the spring daffodil stamp die and the shaping mold. You have the fragrant hyacinth stamp die and the shaping mold. And then you have the beautiful paper. This one has a really beautiful spring palette with lavenders, yellows, and your greens, and a little spots of pink with it as well. Using these tips and techniques, whether you are a beginner or advanced crafter, will allow you to create those beautiful dimensional daffodils and hyacinths. Plus, use these tips and techniques to create other flowers that are extremely versatile. If you don't have these yet, make sure to get yours ordered right away. I've added the links below for quick and easy ordering. Thank you so much for joining me today. And hey, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to get subscribed so you don't miss out on my next video. We'll see you next time. Bye.